It's midday. Good afternoon to you and welcome to Baina Midday News. This news is coming to you live from Benab House, Atomic Junction, Medina. My name is Sherifa Tuwa. You are coming up in this afternoon's bulletin. A coalition of 12 CSOs have announced plans to apply to the Supreme Court to participate an amicus curiae in a case concerning the OSP. And in business, Ghana's debt to GDP ratio is projected to rise to 53.0% by the end of 2026, up from 45.3% recorded in 2025. And on the international front, an Iranian gunboat has fired on a container vessel near the coast of Oman, according to British Maritime Monitoring Agency. There's and many more coming up in the next few minutes. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Remember, this news is live on Facebook at Baina TV. Now let's move on to our first story. A coalition of 12 civil society organizations has announced plans to apply to the Supreme Court to participate as amicus curiae in a case concerning the OSP. The coalition said it intends to file a friend of the court brief in the case involving Noah Adamte, currently before the Apex Court, to support the constitutionality of the OSP.
According to the group, the move reflects growing concern among civil society actors over what they describe as attempt to weaken Ghana's anti-corruption framework. Addressing the media, representative of the coalition argued that any attempt to strip the OSP of its prosecutorial authority would undermine efforts to combat corruption and promote accountability in public office. They maintain that the OSP was established as an independent institution with the mandate to investigate and prosecute corruption-related offences, particularly those involving politically exposed persons. The coalition warned that limiting these powers could weaken the institution and erode public confidence in Ghana's anti-corruption efforts. They further noted that the case before the Supreme Court carries significant implications for governance, transparency, and the rule of law, cautioning that any ruling restricting the OSP's mandates could reverse years of reform efforts. Meanwhile, the Director of Policy Advocacy and Engagement at CDD Ghana, Kojo Asante, said focus should be placed on strengthening the OSP rather than curtailing its powers. The coalition includes the Ghana Center for Democratic Development, which is CDD Ghana, Imani Africa, Transparency International Ghana, the Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, the African Center for Energy Policy, and NOSAC, among other civil society organizations.
The Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company has disclosed that a significant proportion of gas cylinders submitted for refurbishment under the cylinder recirculation model are no longer safe for use, raising fresh concerns about household safety across the country. According to the company, nearly 30% of cylinders presented for inspection and refurbishment were found to be defective and unfit for continued use. Management of the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company warned that the continued use of such faulty cylinders in homes presents a major threat to both lives. Defective cylinders, they explained, increase the risk of gas leaks, fires, and potential explosions, incidents that have in the past led to devastating consequences in several communities. Speaking to journalists, the managing director of GCMC, Abdurrahman Mankir, stressed the urgent need to scale up the implementation of the CRM beyond its current operational areas. He noted that while the model has already been introduced in key urban centers such as Accra, Kumasi, and Tema, expanding it nationwide will significantly improve public safety outcomes. The cylinder recirculation model, which is being championed by the National Petroleum Authority, is designed to ensure that liquefied petroleum gas (LPG) cylinders are regularly inspected, maintained, and replaced when necessary. Under the model, consumers are expected to exchange empty cylinders for filled and certified ones at designated distribution points rather than refilling their own cylinders at fuel stations. Away from that, the Northern Regional Special Operations Team of the Ghana Police Service, known as Red Maria, has arrested 7 persons and retrieved 40 wraps of substances suspected to be Indian hemp during a targeted anti-drug operation in the Tamale metropolis. The operation, conducted on Monday, April 20, at about 8:30 in the evening, formed part of routine effort by the police to clamp down on drug peddling and related criminal activities in the region.
This was contained in a press statement issued by the Public Relations Unit of the Northern Regional Police Command on Tuesday, April 21st. The statement said a team comprising 44 personnel carried out coordinated swoops at identified hotspots including Zogbeli, Kukuo, and later Savelugu following intelligence gathered. It said at Zogbeli, 4 suspects were apprehended, namely Suleimana Sualha, 20, Al-Hassan Aisha, 25, Abdul Fattah Damba, 16, and Mohammed Amin, 20. It said the suspects were arrested for allegedly possessing and dealing in narcotic substances. It said the team subsequently moved to Kukuo, where 2 additional suspects identified as Ibrahim Abdullahi, 20, and Isa Abbas, 17, were also arrested for similar offenses. The statement said, acting on further intelligence, the team extended the operations to Savelugu, where Ibrahim Usman, 21, was arrested. Preliminary investigations indicate he may be involved in drug-related activities, although a search of his room did not yield any substances. In total, 40 wraps of suspected Indian hemp were retrieved during the operation. All 7 suspects are currently in police custody and assisting with ongoing investigations.
The Ghana Scholarship Authority has announced the opening of applications for its local tertiary scholarship scheme for the 2026-2027 academic year. The scheme is aimed at supporting academically gifted but financially challenged Ghanaian students who have secured admission into accredited tertiary institutions within the country.
According to the authority, in a statement signed by Director General Alex Kweku Asafu-Ejei and issued on Monday, April 20th, the application window opened on Monday, 20th April 2026 and will close on Wednesday, 20th May 2026. It has cautioned that late submission will not be accepted. Interested applications are required to complete their application online through the official scholarship portal. Applicants must fill out the application form and upload all necessary supporting documents as part of the process. The authority further stated that after the submission period, shortlisted candidates will undergo an aptitude test and a selection interview as part of the assessment process. Applicants have been encouraged to ensure that all information provided during the application process is accurate and complete in order to avoid disqualification. applications. For further enquiries, the public may contact the Ghana Scholarships Authority via email at apply@scholarship.gov.gh or through the hotline numbers 030-290-7051 and 030-290-7058.
Well, on this note, we go for a quick turn. We'll be back with business and more. Stay with us.
The wait is over, the stage is set, the world is watching. You followed the journey, you felt the impact. Now it's your time to rise and lead. Your favorite Islamic reality show is back. Season 2 of the Ummah Show is calling the bold, the passionate, the visionaries ready to shape the future. This is more than a competition. It's your moment to shine, to inspire, to become the light the Ummah needs. Don't just watch history, be the star. Step up, stand out. Apply now at ummah.bainamultimedia.com.
Kada ku rasa shirin siyasa da kuka fi so tare da Amir Mukhtar Mauni, showing Wednesdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. only on Baina TV.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
The word Islam is an Arabic word which means to surrender. As a Muslim, you surrender yourself to the Almighty Allah, your Creator. To do that, we need to understand the concept of Islam. Baina TV comes your way with the most educative and informative Islamic program, Understanding Islam. On this show, we answer all the questions regarding Islam, the do's and the don'ts of the Sharia, and many others. Make a date with me, Aisha Muhammad Saqib, this and every Friday at 10:30 a.m. as we educate ourselves with the knowledge of the Deen.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
The word
You're welcome back. If you just tuned in, this is Baina Midday News on Baina TV, and we're streaming live on Facebook at Baina TV. Now let's move on to some business story. Ghana's debt to GDP ratio is projected to rise to 53 2026, up from 45.3% recorded in 2025, according to the International Monetary Fund (IMF). The projection is contained in the IMF's Fiscal Monitor report released on sidelines of the 2026 spring meeting of the IMF and World Bank in Washington, D.C. It is, however, not immediately clear what specific factor would drive the expected increase, as the report did not provide detailed breakdowns.
In 2024, Ghana's debt to GDP ratio stood at 61.8%, with total debt pegged at 726.7 billion Ghana cedis. According to data from the Bank of Ghana, by 2025, the ratio had eased to 45.3%, with total debt declining to 641 billion Ghana cedis. Despite the recent improvement, analysts caution that the outlook could shift depending on borrowing trends, exchange rate movements, and overall economic growth performance. Some market watchers argue that increased borrowing or further depreciation of the cedi could alter the debt trajectory, while slower economic growth could also weigh on the debt to GDP ratio. In April 2026, the government raised about 2.7 billion Ghana cedis through a 7-year bond issuance, marking a return to long-dated domestic borrowing after the debt exchange program. The bond carries a coupon rate of 12.5% and matures on March 29, 2033. The IMF report also projected Ghana's debt to GDP ratio will ease to 50.7% in 2027. Ghana's Statistical Service data shows that size of the economy is now estimated at 1.4 trillion Ghana cedis, up from 1.1 trillion Ghana cedis in 2024. Ghana remains classified as a debt-distressed country by the IMF, although recent improvements have been acknowledged. The fund expects Ghana to reach a moderate risk status by 2028 if current reforms are sustained. Globally, the IMF warns that public debt pressures are rising, with worldwide debt projected to reach 100% of GDP by 2029, driven by higher spending needs and rising interest costs.
Now moving on to some news beyond our borders, an Iranian gunboat has fired on a container vessel near the coast of Oman, according to a British maritime monitoring agency, in an incident that occurred hours after United States President Donald Trump said he would extend a ceasefire with Iran. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Center said on Wednesday that the ship's captain reported that the vessel had been approached by a vessel of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps before shots were fired.
British maritime security firm Vanguard Tech said the ship was sailing under a Liberian flag and had been informed it had permission to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most strategically important waterways. Iranian news agency Tasnim, however, said the vessel had ignored warnings issued by Iran's armed forces. The incident followed a warning from the IRGC's Khatam al-Anbiya central headquarters after what it described as the U.S. seizure of an Iranian commercial ship in the Sea of Oman. It accused Washington of violating the ceasefire and carrying out, quote, armed piracy, unquote, after allegedly firing on the Iranian vessel and disabling its navigation system. Trump earlier announced he would delay a planned military attack on Iran after request from Pakistan's Army Chief Asim Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Writing on Truth Social, Trump said the decision was made because Iran's government was seriously fractured and needed time to present a unified position. He added, however, that the U.S. naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz would remain in place and said the military had been ordered to stay, quote, ready and able, unquote. The announcement marked a shift from comments made a day earlier when Trump said it was highly unlikely he would extend the truce beyond Tuesday.
Now moving on to sports, former General Secretary of the Confederation of African Football CAF, Veron Musengo Omba, has officially joined the race of the presidency of FECOFA. Mr. Musengo Omba, who was in Ghana in September 2018, is set up a normalization committee following the release of number 12 film, submitted his candidacy on April 21, 2026 at the close of nominations ahead of the elective General Assembly scheduled for May 20th.
Announcing his bid in a social media post on Tuesday night, Musengo Umba declaring his ambition to reshape Congolese football with a strong focus on structure and long-term development. Using that imagery as a foundation, Musengo Umba questioned whether the country's football success has been built on a sustainable system. He was unequivocal in his assessment of what must change. Musengo Umba also called for unity across the football landscape. He joins former DR Congo international Shabani Nunda among the high-profile contenders. Nunda, who played for clubs including AS Monaco, Blackburn Rovers, and Galatasaray and earned 48 caps for the Leopards, is campaigning on improving both domestic and international game. Other candidates include Aziz Makukula, who is promoting a project centered on former players, Max Mayaka, a former DC MP executive and co-founder of FC Renaissance, as well as Lord Indiwa Kanganal and Kevin Issa, whose applications were validated on April 21st.